Hi everyone, this is Norm from the Board Game Museum, and today I'm going to be reviewing the game All Time Wrestling, the Extreme Edition. Now this is a professional wrestling game, and the object of this game is you're going to try to either beat your opponent by pin, submission, or by whatever the rules stipulate. So let's check it out. So the object of the game is you're going to go ahead and try to beat your opponent either by pinfall, submission, or depending on what version of the game you're playing, it could be by knockout, etc. Anyway, right here we have Raven and Sabu, and the game also comes with two other characters, Rob Van Dam, and then a fictional character named Damon. Now each character, when you turn over their card, is going to have a move set, and it's going to have a combination of things. It's going to have moves that are synonymous with the wrestler, and they're also going to have your standard moves like a kick to the gut, punch, thrust kick, jabs, Irish whip, stuff like that. Let's take a look at what the character card has on it. Right over here tells you how much health that your wrestler is going to start with. So for Raven, it's going to be 14. This will tell you when his health is going to start to get on the low side. So for him, it's going to be 4. Now, whenever Raven starts to get below 4, this is going to give him fewer attempts to kick out of a pin. Right here is how much stamina he'll start with, so this is 14, and this is when his stamina is going to start to get low at 4. What this is simply going to mean is if it gets below 4, that an opponent will be able to subtract a number from the die in order to execute a move. So if he has to roll a 5 to execute a move, if it gets to this, he will only have to roll a 4. And then right over here, this is going to tell you how many cards are in his deck. Okay, so here's a look at a moves card. Quite a lot on here. If you play this card, this is how much health you will take away from your opponent if the move is successful. This will tell you how much stamina it's going to cost you. Stamina works as currency in this game. This will tell you how much you will have to roll. Now this roll can get modified depending on where you're at in the game. And this is how much your momentum will shift to your side. Right over here you have a match momentum meter, and this is going to be moving up the more moves you are able to get. Now if you're able to get this cube over to on a roll, this is going to subtract what you will need to roll on the die by 1. If you get it over here, it will cost you 2 less on the die. Also on the card, you're going to see a little symbol like this. There's a couple of symbols here. This particular one is taunt. So this is an option that you will have on this card. You have 2 things you can do. You can either recover or taunt depending on what symbol's on the card. If you decide to do a taunt, you will gain a stamina, you will gain a momentum, and you'll be able to get 2 cards. However, your opponent was also going to be receiving things as well, so he would get a stamina, a card, and then a heart. If the recover icon is over here, you will have the option to gain 2 stamina and 1 card. Your opponent will get 1 stamina, 1 card, and 1 health. And, also, you will see the word pin. If this is on there, you will be able to attempt a pin. Opponent's going to have up to 3 times to try to kick out of a pin, depending on what his level is. So if I tried to pin, say, Sabu, if he was at 4, he'll have 2 dice and he's going to have to roll a 4 or less to kick out. And if he fails to do that in 3 turns, he will lose. Now on the player boards, there are 4 different abilities here that each player has. It's going to tell you when you'll be able to play it. This one says trigger during the defensive window. This one says trigger during the offensive window. And then it'll also have like these cubes. And to play it, you'll just simply have to remove a cube. And I'll talk a little bit more about this as we go along. So the way the game's going to start is each character is going to go ahead and draw 5 cards, and then you are going to go ahead and look at the cards and you're going to make a decision. The first thing you'll be able to do is you can just simply draw another card and lose the initiative. The initiative is going to allow you to attack your opponent. Another thing you can do is you can gain 3 stamina and you will lose the initiative, but you'll at least get the stamina. And the other option is to play an attack card. So let's go ahead and say I'm going to play an attack card. And let's say I decide I'm going to go ahead and play a chin lock. So the first thing this is going to tell you is this is how much health my opponent's going to lose if the move is successful. This is going to cost me 1, so I'll go ahead and pay that. And then I'm going to have to roll a 2 or higher in order for the move to be successful. So I'll roll, and I've gotten a 4. This will go ahead and lower Sabu's -1. I will go ahead and gain 1 here on the momentum meter. Now I will be able to go ahead and play again if I so decide. Here you're going to see these symbols, and what these symbols represent is an option to be able to chain together moves. And this time I've decided I'm going to try to play a running bulldog. So now this is going to cost me 2 to attempt. Now, my opponent will have an option anytime I play an attack card to try to defend himself. One way he can do that is he can go ahead and just do the reversal here. This will trigger the defensive ability window, which is in. He'll gain the initiative, and then he will also fulfill this obligation here on his card. Another way you can do it is with these X1s here. This one has a defense ability window. You can simply switch the attack card played. So you can just do the +1s over here. There are also some permanent abilities. Some of them will have defensive options on here. This one does not. And another thing you can do is pay stamina. Now, if your opponent plays 3 cards in a row that put 2 or less health away, you'll be able to go ahead and spend 2 stamina and just simply block the attack and gain the initiative. So there's a couple of special ways that you can do an attack, and one of them is by doing what's called a rampage. There are certain cards that are going to have this arrow symbol on them, and these are cards that you are going to be able to play together. In this case, you're going to go ahead and roll 2 dice, and you're going to go ahead and try to meet the conditions of both of the dice, and then you're going to take the dice and assign them to different cards. So for example, let's say I have this will cover this, and this one will go ahead and cover this. So in this case, my opponent is going to go ahead and take 2 damage, and I will go ahead and gain 2 momentum. Another thing you can do is what is called chain combos. Let's say that I did the Irish Whip and it was a successful move. Now you're going to see these symbols over here. If you're able to match one of these symbols, you will be able to go ahead and chain the combos together. So let's say I've gone ahead and I've chained these 2 together because I've matched those 2 circles. Anytime you see a circle combo, this is going to add 1 damage to the next successful attack. So if this was successful, instead of it being 2, it would be 3. Now there's also squares that you can match in the game like this. If I ended up doing that, that would reduce the target number of the next attack. So for example, if I needed to roll a 3, this will now make it a 2. So let's say I end up playing the Raven effect, which is a finishing maneuver over here. If I'm able to play that, this is going to go ahead and give my opponent 1 less chance to kick out. Now let's say my opponent happens to be over here. He's already going to have 1 less chance to kick out because of this. Having this is going to take another one away. What Sabu can do is he can go ahead and pay and give himself 1 health back. So let's just say I did that, and then he did this, and he went ahead and got 1 health back. Now in order to kick out, he's going to have 3 attempts to try to roll a 4 or less. So I rolled a 6, I did not do it. I rolled a 8, I did not do it. So in this case, Sabu will have gotten pinned and he will have lost the match. Okay, so before I start the barbed wire exploding deathmatch explanation, this game does come with some weapons cards over here, and I'll just show you some of them. These are typical things that you would see in pro wrestling today. But anyway, they have last man standing matches and also no DQ matches you can use these for. Essentially, the way it works is if you use these weapons, you have to roll a 5 or higher. So one of the big differences in this thing has what is called a bomb timer. This is going to be moving down, and whenever it gets to 0, the bomb is going to go off, and it's going to deal 8 damage to each of the wrestlers. The game's going to also come with these weapon cards here: barbed wire ropes, barbed wire chair, barbed wire bat, 2 barbed wire tables, and a barbed wire cord. Alternatively, you'll be able to replace some of these cards with other ones like a staple gun, fluorescent, light tubes, and the burning table. Each wrestler is also going to be receiving what is called elixir. Essentially what's going to happen is if this card gets played, the person who plays it is going to end up getting back 12 health, minus any excess damage that happened in an attack. So the way it's going to work is you're going to play an attack card like you normally would, and if your attack is also successful, if you've caused 2 or more damage, you'll have an opportunity to pick up one of these cards and play it. So if my attack was successful when I decided to play the barbed wire cord over here, I would give him 2 more damage, I would go up 1 momentum, and then the timer would go down this amount, which is going to be 1. So this would go down like so. And then the card's going to go back. Now if anyone wanted to block these standard weapons, they could just go and discard 2 of the cards from their hand. They can play the reverse token over here, or they can try to roll a 5 plus on the die, and if they are successful, they'll actually get to use the weapon on the opponent that tried to use it on them. Now the barbed wire table is going to have a unique use. If you decide to use this card, you're going to have to play either a signature card or a finisher card with this, which this would be a finisher, and also the card is going to have to be either an aerial card, a throw, or a grapple in order for it to be successful. So if you roll the dice and you succeed, you're going to go ahead and apply the effects of both of these cards. Now this can also be blocked. However, It's a little different. You'll have to discard 3 cards instead of 2, and you'll also be able to use the reversal over here as well. Now, victory is going to happen when your opponent ends up getting knocked out, and a knockout is going to happen when your opponent ends up reaching 1. So whenever the bomb goes off, if it turns out somebody ends up at 1 and another player does not, the other player will win. If it turns out both players are knocked out, they'll do what's called sudden death, and whoever is the first person to get the pin is going to win. They got a couple of other scenarios, but it's pretty standard stuff. But anyway, the winner is going to be the person that ends up getting their opponent down to 1 and knocking him out. Now, I used to be a big wrestling fan back in the days, especially in the mid-90s when they had the Monday Night Wars going on, and that was basically between 2 big major companies that were basically vying for wrestling supremacy, so to speak. Now, professional wrestling really is a male soap opera, and I actually still watch it from time to time because I'm really intrigued by the storylines that they come up with. And I've always wondered, how could you effectively make a wrestling game, because there's so many little different things that are going on between wrestling moves, between reversals, and all these things. And I think this game does a fantastic job of simulating what a wrestling match is like. The momentum meter. You oftentimes will see this in wrestling where wrestlers will have momentum and they'll get several different moves in there. And then, of course, you're going to have the time when the other wrestler is able to get the advantage, and then it goes back and forth. Sometimes one wrestler will have more moves than another. This game does a great job of doing that. I really like the momentum meter, because when you end up getting several moves on, it's going to start to get easier to get like bigger moves like finishers on. That just seems to be a natural progression. I also like the different ways that you can block. You've got certain ways that you can just do it automatically. You have other ways where you're going to have to try to earn it. Also in this game, you can create your own deck with the different moves that there are in the game. There's tons of different ones that, if you're a wrestling fan, you will be familiar with. Also having these different matches like the last man standing. The other versions will have like the cage match, tag team matches, and then all the weapons that you would see are in this game. You've got chairs and bells and things like that. And the game works great. I love the way this game simulates professional wrestling. Now, with the barbed wire match, I really like this. I've never seen a match like this where there's actually a bomb, but the idea of this game is just complete carnage, where you can actually hit your opponent, but every time you do, you're going to end up making that bomb thing go down sooner. This particular version of the game is almost like a race where you're trying to get the most amount of damage to your opponent before that bomb goes off. Anybody who is a wrestling fan, I highly would recommend checking out this game. I hope that they are able to sign some more big name talent, because in my opinion, this is one of the best wrestling games out there. I love the way it works. It really simulates a wrestling match really well. All right, guys, that's my review of All Time Wrestling Extreme Edition. We'll see you on game.